Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and welcome to another video. Today's video is going to be the mid-tier list for patch 7.30E, and like I said in the carry tier list, this is coming out now because I thought the new patch, the patch after TI was going to happen, sometime soon. It just hasn't happened, so I'm going to release this now, and that means that we'll probably get a patch within the week because I'm releasing my tier list now. But regardless, the meta has changed significantly, actually, since TI with very little changes, only like a patch or so. I think the E patch was new after TI with Marcy and stuff, but not much really changed. It was mostly just Marcy being added, and other than that, that this is pretty much the patch, but it just keeps evolving over time. So we're going to take a look at that with the mid lane here as we jump into the mid-tier list for patch 7.30E. Before we jump into the video, I just wanted to say if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, all of those kinds of things, it really helps. And if you want to see more content into the future, please consider clicking the Patreon link down below and going to my Patreon, signing up for coaching, or just supporting me in general for that $5 or $10 a month. It really, really helps because for whatever reason, YouTube has not monetized my channel. So I make absolutely no money for making all this content. So in order to keep up making content in the future, if you guys really like it and you want to see more of it, please consider supporting if you can. Now that we got that out of the way, let's jump back to the video. Now, to start off, before we get to S tier, I'm just going to tell you, like I did in the carry video, that the way I arrive at this is I kind of put everything into the list as I feel it should be. Then I kind of go from there and I look at all of the statistics based on the pub win rates and pick rates of Divine and Immortal bracket. And then I look at Dota 2 Pro Tracker and the pro matches and see, what's being picked and banned and everything there as well, what's being valued highly. And then I kind of mash it all together and, give a general tier list, a general meta analysis that is a little bit subjective, like I said. So at the end of the video, or whenever you see what I have here, just let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree or what have you. But we're going to jump right into the S tier, and we're going to start off with the obvious S tier hero for mid lane, which is Queen of Pain. So Queen of Pain has kind of been on the rise here and there, just was never really that dominant hero, just seemed like, oh, Queen of Pain could be good, but then, no, it's not that good. There's still problems with it. And the main reason that now Queen of Pain is S tier is because it's actually similar to Wraith King in the carry list, is that I think people basically found the build for Queen of Pain. In the past, you would want to go treads into like Orchid because you kind of wanted to play like a Storm Spirit or like some other kind of hero that bought Orchid to like pick people off. You jump in, you Orchid somebody, you blow them up, that kind of thing. Well, that's no longer the build at all. You pretty much never buy Orchid on this hero. Maybe, rarely, occasionally you will, but pretty much the build on this hero is to go just basically your treads and those kinds of things into Sange and Kaya first, because that makes you really tanky. It also allows you to farm, because one of the big problems with this hero is that farming on this hero is kind of annoying because your Scream of Pain actually costs a ton of mana, so you actually run out of mana pretty quickly. But when you buy Kaya first and then go back for the Sange, you can farm a lot quicker, which is really, really good. And then you get, that Sange and Kaya, and then you go right into BKB, so now you're very survivable. You're actually really, really tanky with those two items, and then the more items that you get from there, you actually get even tankier. So you're very tanky, you do a ton of damage, you can blink in and right-click people, and then at level 20, you get the Agnum Shard, which gives you kind of basically the silence that you're looking for with an Orchid. So like you get an Orchid at what, like 13, 14 minutes, 12 minutes if it's good, something like that. And then you have that, 6-7 minute timing that is until 20 minutes. And if you don't use the Orchid like really, really well to stomp the game in that amount of time, you basically should just not have bought the Orchid, because now you can get this Shard, which offers you a silence as well, but also offers you extra damage, which is really good even without the silence, because you can basically blink into a creep wave and then just Scream of Pain it, and then you clear the creep wave instantly, where before, Queen of Pain used to have to kind of like click each creep, wait for them to die a little bit, then scream, then blink out, that kind of thing. But now you can just blink to the creep wave, you can scream it, you kill it instantly, or you can scream, blink out, because you actually do damage, right where you come from. So it's a very, very good way to farm on this hero. It also offers that silence that you want. So it's just a combination of finding out the right build, plus getting this Ag Shard that's just so, so good. It makes this hero amazing. And then from there, once you have those two items plus the Shard, you can kind of go into whatever you need to go. Do you need armor? Do you need that AoE? Do you need to find somebody with vision to get Shivas? Do you want sheep? Do you want more right-click items? Do you want Scotty even? Anything like that? You can just go a lot of different things from there. It just makes this hero really, really good. Plus the fact that this hero also is kind of a lane-dominating hero. Now, it doesn't dominate every lane, but it is a lane-dominating hero that you can kill a lot of heroes with Shadow Strike, zone them out of the lane, that kind of thing. So it's all of the strengths of Queen, but now it seems like Queen has almost no weakness. So she really is an S tier hero for the mid lane. Next, we're going to look at Tinker. the hero either everyone loves or hates. It's basically an amazingly fun hero to play if you're good at it, but everyone hates to play against this hero if you're not. Tinker was kind of changed recently, and then it was either really good or really bad. People weren't really sure where it was going to be, and it turns out that it's actually just super overpowered. First of all, you obviously have the normal things that are good about Tinker, where you have the laser, you have Ags that allows the laser to be even better. But the real overpowered part of this hero is now that this defense matrix, people have kind of figured out how to use this, and the fact that it blocks damage, but it also allows you to blink. So that's why you can get overwhelming blink, you can get Shivas, you can get these things that not only are you doing a ton of damage, but you also can just kind of be reckless with where you're blinking, with where you're going on the map. I know I made a video about Tinker with like the updated guide, and I've said in the past or even in that guide that I don't love the Shiva's guard and all that kind of stuff, because in some ways I don't love it, because if you're really new to Tinker, you need to learn how to have good positioning first. But in a lot of ways, actually the defense matrix and Shivas and these kinds of overwhelming blink and all that kind of stuff actually makes it so you don't really have to care that much about your positioning, because you can just like spam cast this, spam Shivas, and you're just doing insane amounts of damage. And also people just can't kill you. It's like impossible to kill you unless they have some kind of spell that like locks you down for a long time, some kind of AoE spell to catch you out. It's like any kind of single target stun, any kind of damage, whatever it is, it just doesn't do anything to you. You can just blink in, use your Shivas, use all your abilities and blink out, and you don't give, two shits, and then you're casting this on other people, you're just buffing your team. This hero is absolutely insane if you know how to use it. Obviously, it takes a lot of skill. It's very high skill, but it can be very annoying if you have really, really good players that use this. They can just absolutely stomp games. It's so good. Basically because of defense matrix, and then obviously you get your boots of travel for free, and then you can use laser to farm. So it's just a great hero all around. And then we're going to, actually, before I look at Puck, I'm going to look at OD. And that's because OD is another hero that's basically super annoying. It's like Tinker in the fact that if, the enemy picks this hero, you're just going to be pissed because you're going to have a terrible time. But if it does well on your team, you can absolutely stomp with it. It's amazing. Basically, this hero, you just rush your Meteor Hammer, kind of has been the build for a while, but just for whatever reason, this hero has just become super overpowered because I think it just is able to do so much in different games, and it's so good against a lot of heroes, and people have just figured out that this hero with the Meme Hammer Rush is just too OP. It's just too good. It's absolutely ridiculous how much you can do with this hero, and then when you get the Shard, if you ever need it, you can save people, you can farm better with that, you just take every tower in the game, and if the enemy doesn't have the right heroes to deal with your Meme Hammer Rush, you can just kill anybody on the map for the first 20 minutes, and you can take every tower. It's just ridiculous. This hero is so crazy. And then if you have a good start to the game and you need any kind of right click carry kind of damage, you can just go right click build. You can go BKB, you can go Moon Shard, and you just do stupid amounts of damage. This hero is absolutely ridiculous, especially if picked into the right matchup. The only thing is it can fall off if you don't have the best early game, or the enemy has some good heroes against you and you don't take all the towers, you don't snowball. It can fall off because it doesn't really have a good way of farming, but people have figured out ways to get around that by just killing everybody on the map pretty much. So that's OD. And then the reason why I skipped I skipped Puck to talk about OD is because basically Puck, the reason why Puck is S tier and the reason why I have it S tier, it's getting picked all the time, is largely because look at the 3 other S tier heroes that are just getting picked all the time that are really good. And Puck is amazing against all of them. Puck basically is able to lane against all of those heroes because of his phase shift. So his phase shift is really good against Queen of Pain for dodging that Q spell, even for dodging Queen of Pain's other spells like ult and stuff when they cast it. He's also really good at dodging the rockets that are constantly spammed from Tinker once he gets higher levels. And even you can not dodge the laser, but you can fake it out and stuff like that. So that's good. And then you also, which is also really, really good, it's kind of one of the best things, that you can dodge the Meme Hammer timing, the Meteor Hammer timing from OD. So OD basically can't do anything to you even once OD gets that hammer timing, because basically you can just phase shift right out of the hammer and it doesn't do anything to you. And then obviously that's phase shift. Then you also have the Dream Coil, which is so good against all those heroes. Any kind of mobility hero like Queen of Pain, any hero, even some of the other better mids or some of the spirit mids that people are still picking and stuff. This ability is obviously amazing because you lock them down, and then especially against Tinker, it's so good against Tinker because, like I said, you need some kind of AoE control ability because, the normal stuns don't really last very long because of that status resistance, and any kind of damage doesn't stop him from blinking, so you need something like Dream Coil to force him to stay in place, and so that's why Dream Coil is so good against Tinker, and until Tinker gets a BKB, which he doesn't love buying, there's nothing he can do, and then you can even get Ags. So it's just one of these things that Puck is just so good against all of the good heroes. I don't think there's really anything all that, unique to Puck right now. It's not like Puck is this great hero because it's broken in the same way that OD or Queen of Pain is. I think it's just really good against a lot of the heroes right now because you are just able to, if they pick one of the strong heroes, you pick Puck, you're pretty much going to have a good game. You're going to be able to lane pretty well, whereas let's say you picked Ember Spirit or something like this, even though Ember is pretty good against this. Let's say another hero, I don't know, any kind of like melee hero that doesn't do well or anything like that, like even like Magnus or something. You pick any kind of hero that can't escape, even like Kunkka, that's why he's kind of lower, is that because like, what are you going to do? You just get, you just get astraled, you just get daggered, you just get rocketed. It's just so annoying to deal with these heroes. That's why Puck is up there. So that's S tier. Those are those 4 S tier heroes. I think that's pretty obvious, pretty simple, pretty straightforward there. Now let's move on to A tier. So I think A tier and B tier here, I think we can have, this is kind of like its own little section, the A and B, and then C and D is its own little section here as well. Because basically, I think all A and all B, they're viable heroes, they're viable mids, they're very good. You could pick them almost every game. It's just a matter of, are the win rates and pick rates higher, and, are they more overpowered, or are they less overpowered? Are they more just standard? And I think all these A tier heroes are pretty much just a little bit better than the B tier heroes, and that is Void Spirit. Void Spirit is the best spirit hero right now. He just does more damage. He's able to dodge a lot of things. He just has a better time, better game. He can go that Sange and Kaya build. He just has a lot of different build-ups, a lot of different ways he can deal with a lot of different things and does a ton of damage. Whereas the other spirit heroes, they have a little bit of problems dealing with certain matchups. They have different problems in different games. Void's just the best right now overall. And then we look at Templar Assassin. TA is a great carry, but also a great mid. You can always play this hero mid as well, and it's very, very good. Right now, it's just having a better time. I think TA was very overpowered, kind of went out of the meta, but I think it's one of those things where even though they nerfed TA like 6 months ago or so, I think people just stopped picking it when it really wasn't nerfed all that hard. Yeah, sure, it wasn't like, hitting supports and one-shotting them from like halfway across the map with the ridiculous range and the side blades, but it was still overpowered for all the other reasons, especially the ags and everything. And I think the same thing applies, and people are just kind of realizing that, and it's coming back into the meta. And that's a similar story to Bat. About like 3 months ago, maybe around TI, whether it was after or right before, this hero was absolutely broken, had like 70% win rate in pro level pubs or something. It was absolutely ridiculous. Then it got nerfed a little bit, or like the vision was changed, some things, and people just stopped playing it. People were like, it's not as good. But now it's kind of come back. People were like, well, the nerfs weren't that big. If you just play around it correctly, it's still just as powerful as it was. You go Boots of Travel, you go BKB, you maybe go Aether Lens to make sure you can get that, you can get your ultimate off on a lot of heroes and things like that. And this hero can just absolutely stomp the early game. You do have to know how to play though, because if you don't take advantage of your strengths, then you're going to fall off and not be as good later into the game. So keep that in mind. But that is still really, really good right now. And actually, Brood is up here. And Brood is one of those, again, where Brood was strong like 6 months ago. It got nerfed. It got changed a lot. But actually, pros are finding out that they just kind of like abandoned it. They stopped playing it. And apparently, there's a lot of like talk going around that Broodmother's going to be really good, especially because actually in pro level pubs, it's stomping right now. It's really good. It hasn't really made its way fully to the pro scene, but it is just really good. I think that Shard also is pretty good now, like the way that they've changed things up. But I think it's just, even though it has that problem of getting slower when it has lower health, I still think the same ways that it was strong, it's just not as overpowered as it was before, but it's still really, really good. And so Brood is actually becoming more of a nuisance. So look out for that. I think it may get nerfed actually again in the future patch if it keeps kind of rising in its stock, in its value. So that's A tier. And then B tier, these are all heroes that could like potentially be A. Maybe if you're really good at them, they're A, or, in the right matchup, but they just have some weaknesses. And that is Kunkka. Kunkka's been really good. He's actually been picked a lot. He's like high level, he has a decent win rate, but he just has some weaknesses. He kind of isn't the best at everything. He has some bad matchups. He does fall off sometimes if you don't get enough farm. And even when you do, he just doesn't have the best matchups at times, or doesn't do the most damage. He has a lot of control, but he doesn't do great against BKB, and BKB's at a great spot right now, one of the best spots actually in all of Dota. BKB is just so good. So that's why Kunkka's down here. He's good, but he's just not that top level. And then the same thing with the two other Spirit Brothers, Storm and Ember. They're very good. You can definitely pick them, but they have problems with certain matchups and certain timings, and just not as good as Void or Queen of Pain. And that's the thing. A lot of these heroes are just not as good against the top tier mids either. Definitely Ember. Ember can have trouble, he obviously can go jungle, he can do those kinds of things. Storm, that kind of stuff too, but he has trouble approaching the wave because he has to stand on top of the wave. Even though he's a ranged hero, to clear it, he has to stand on top of it, and that's a problem against a lot of these heroes. And then the same thing can be said for Lina. Lina's kind of similar in that vein. She's like this standard mid hero. I think Lina was really good, a couple months ago, but as these other heroes are getting more popular, Queen of Pain's getting better. A lot of these heroes, yes, Lina's good against Queen. Yes, Lina has very good range, but it's not the best. It can have problems at times. It can have problems, especially against OD, once OD gets the hammer and things like that. It can be, you can get run down by Bat Rider, that kind of thing. So it's just one of these heroes. I think it's really good. It can be a good right-click kind of hero from mid that you can carry with, but it's just not, I don't think it's in that high tier, especially when you look at the win rates and stuff. And then Invoker, picked a lot. I think it's a very good hero, but you have to be a good Invoker player. It has to be a decent game, but, especially if you pair it with like Void, Faceless Void, it can be amazing. But it's just one of those things that I think it's Invoker's always kind of middle of the pack unless it's OP. I don't think it's ever like out of the question bad. It just never is really super bad, but I think it's B tier, and it's picked a decent amount, even if the win rate's not the best. And then we have Leshrac. Leshrac, you kind of fell off. It was changed with pure damage, which has made it a little bit interesting. It's pretty good. It has some good matchups. It's fairly decent. It's just not the best. Same thing with Necro. Necro is like kind of rising in its popularity. It's rising in its how good it is. I think it's pretty decent. You can out-sustain a lot of people, but it's just not the best against a lot of matchups. Like Tinker just owns it and stuff like that. Zeus is actually a surprising one. I think Zeus was like very low, if anything F tier, but Zeus is getting a lot better. Zeus has gotten a lot more movement speed, a lot more attack damage. He has his shard now that helps him escape. He has the same problem as like Sniper and other heroes that if you get on top of them, he's just going to die. But he does so much damage now. He's actually kind of ridiculous. And he has actually a pretty good laning stage. That's why he's up here. And his win rate's actually fairly decent. It's kind of middle of the road. And you wouldn't expect that for Zeus, even at high level pubs. So Zeus is kind of up there. And then two other ones. Pugna is kind of coming back. Pugna is becoming a little bit more popular. I think it's just like they keep increasing the range that you can use your Q with, your Nether Blast. So you can keep blasting the tower from pretty far away. You can siege towers really well. Pugna is always one of those that, especially against heroes that cast a lot, like Tinker and things like that, Pugna can be very good. And even against Zeus, Necro, all these casting heroes, he can be very good with his ward. And then lastly, we have Huskar here. Huskar was kind of in the dumpster for a while, but Huskar is kind of coming back. He's a little bit better. He's getting a little bit better. I think the Agnum's Scepter is very good because it kind of gives you this weird axe build where you can kind of like stun people and stuff. So he's getting better into the late game. It's not just like a hero that has to stomp the lane and snowball the entire game from minute one. It's a hero that has a little bit more potential in the later game. So I think he's rising in that way. So that's B tier. I think all these heroes are relatively good. They're stable picks. Next, we're going to move on to C tier and D tier. I think this is a little bit of a separate section kind of. These heroes are pretty much far and away worse than the A and B tier, but you can still pick them. It's just that I think it just depends, if you're good with them or the matchup. Viper, I think, actually, maybe we'll just edit here and we'll put Viper up at the top because Viper could potentially be B. Viper can be good. It's just that it depends on the game. It depends on, like a lot of these other heroes, like most of the heroes that you see above Viper here have some sort of mobility or some presence on the map. The problem with Viper is he doesn't really have any mobility. There's a lot of different items you feel like you want to buy on him, but he doesn't really love buying any of them or all of them. There's a lot of small items you want and things like that. It's just kind of a weird hero, but he can be very, very good in certain games. Just he's kind of at a weird spot. I think people just haven't figured out the best build on him. If they do figure out some really OP build, he could rise up in the ranks. Next, we have Shadow Fiend. And Shadow Fiend is interesting because I put Shadow Fiend in D tier or C tier mainly because people thought like a month or so ago, maybe even 2 months ago, that this was going to be like the hero of the patch. Oh, he's coming back. He's going to be insane. He's going to be this crazy carry hero. It just turns out he's actually not really that good at carry. He's not as good as people thought he was. I mean, his shard isn't bad, but it's just, I don't know, he has the same weaknesses. He kind of fell off. Pros stopped picking him. They're not picking him in pro games or even in pubs that much. His win rate is terrible like it always is now. I just think that right-click build, it's not bad. If you can man up on people, if you don't get bursted down, you can actually own this hero. But if you get any kind of stun that goes through BKB and you're just screwed, you will melt. You are a glass cannon like crazy, and you can dominate games with it. You can play really well, but he just is a glass cannon. He can just get blown up compared to other carries, and that's why I didn't put him in the carry list because it's definitely fallen off. And even mid, he's just not nearly as good as a lot of these other heroes, especially a lot of these heroes which can dominate him in the lane. And then next, we have Magnus. Magnus is just at an okay spot. Not great, but especially at mid, he's just not very good. Sniper, I put Sniper, I think even here or a little bit higher in the carry list. I think Sniper's still very good, not F. I think I put him in F before, but now he's kind of rising similar with Zeus. He's okay. I think a few more buffs, and Sniper can be very good. And then Visage has very low pick rate, but he has kind of like this weird Ags build and Orchid and stuff where he can be good. I think before he was pretty bad, but now he's actually pretty good. He's kind of rising in picks, where before he had a high win rate, but he was picked like 1% or less than 1% of games. But now he's getting up to like 4% because people are actually picking this hero and playing it pretty well with this Orchid and this Ags and all that kind of stuff. So that's C tier. And last, we have D tier. We have Gyro, we have Death Prophet, Pango, Wind Ranger, Skywrath, Arc Warden. All these heroes, you can pick them mid. You can pick them in the right matchup. I think Death Prophet might be up a little bit. Maybe I could put Death Prophet up here, but all these heroes just aren't great mid. You don't really see him that much mid anymore. You don't see him in that many games. Death Prophet, even though she could be good, I think she just has a lot of problems right now. And then lastly, we have F tier, which this tier is just dog shit heroes, like absolute crap. Lone Druid's in a terrible spot. Meepo has been dead for years, unless you're like a Pub Stomp Smurf or something like that. It's just not an Alchemist patch, so he's just an F tier hero. You just never pick this hero. I mean, he can be good or like okay at times, but it's just not an Alchemist patch. And then Dragon Knight, he got nerfed into the ground recently, and I mean, I put him in F tier. You could potentially put him up, but I think Dragon Knight has like, I don't know, the 4th worst win rate in the entire game right now in higher level pubs. He just really is not in a great spot. It feels very bad, especially from the mid position. Maybe from off lane is a little bit better because you can go Blink and then you can go BKB and it doesn't feel as bad because you go Blink, BKB, Ags and stuff like that, and it's not as bad. But right now from mid, like any kind of carry or mid position, it just feels terrible. So that is the mid tier list for 7.30E. As always, let me know in the comments if you disagree or you think someone should be higher or lower, or, what you think, or maybe I forgot someone to not include them that is a new mid or something like that. Maybe like Grimstroke you think is like a really good mid and I should put that in here as a mid or something like that. Maybe AA or something like that. No, Grimstroke has kind of been a thing. But in any case, let me know. As always, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all those kinds of things. If you like this video, go to the links below to my Discord to request replay reviews and to discuss games and everything there. We have a pretty active community. As always, go to my Patreon to consider supporting me and sign up for coaching if you want that. You can see all the options there. And as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.